think for a lot of our listeners, scout rifles are a little bit unknown. What exactly is the definition of a scout rifle?
Ron, I don't think you have any idea how big of a can of worms you just opened up. When you ask
Uh-oh.
what the definition of a scout rifle is. So just a little back. Jeff Cooper, former Marine, started Gunsight Academy, wrote for Guns and Ammo, gun writer for years, responsible for giving us the firearm safety rules, color code. I mean, the amount of things that Jeff Cooper's contributed to the world of firearms is not only endless, it's iconic. He had been working with a Remington Model 600 and 308 Winchester. You remember those little short, lightweight?
Oh, yeah.
Had the
Yep.
what they call the dog leg bolt.
Shark's tooth.
Yeah.
Yep.
He'd been working with one of those for a while and was really pleased with how quick it handled, how light it was to carry, the amount of power you got out of the 308 cartridge given the weight of the gun. And he installed
Right.
a long eye relief scope on it, which was mounted forward of the action. And
Mhm.
in 1983, he wrote an article for Gun Digest Annual about and kind of introduced his scout rifle concept to the world. He defined what the scout rifle was. And I'll break it down to some of the categories. He wanted it to weigh 3 kilos, which is 6.6 pounds. He wanted it to be less than a meter long. He didn't specifically say bolt action, but given that weight and length measurement at the time, a bolt action was the only thing that you could get there with. He wanted a 308 Winchester because it matched the original 30-06 ballistics of a 150 grain bullet at 2,700 feet per second. And, like he said, Stuart Edward White and Theodore Roosevelt had used that all over the world successfully, Africa and whatever. He wanted 2 minutes angle of accuracy. In other words, he wanted to be able to shoot 2-inch groups or less at 100 yards. 19-inch barrel. The reason he specified the 19-inch barrel is because in a 308 Winchester, you needed that 19-inch barrel to get that 2,700 feet per second with a 150 grain bullet. Non-reflective finish, ghost ring backup sights, and that was kind of where the forward-mounted scope come in. You know, if you put a set of ghost ring sights on a bolt-action rifle, and then you try to mount a scope, you either have to mount it really high or just a little bit forward, or you got to take the sights off. So with his ghost ring sights and the intermediate eye relief scope, you got the best of both worlds. Pop the scope off, you got backup iron sights. And then a couple other things that he considered as accessories or optional was the flush sling swivels, so they didn't protrude out and hit your hand. A magazine cutoff so you could feed 1 round at a time over top of loaded rounds, and a bipod, and the ability to store ammo in the gun. Now, if you'll let me just keep going a little bit, those specifications are darn near impossible to meet. It is, to find a 6-pound or 6.5-pound rifle with a scope attached to it in 308, they just don't make them. Now, Kimber is making a couple new ultralight arms, obviously. You know, Melvin Forbes, he builds an ultralight rifle. But for the average guy to get there, it was almost impossible. So for the last 40 years, people, since they can't meet Cooper's specifications, they just mix and choose and add what they want to suit them. And a good analogy would be, and when you change those specifications, it's not a scout rifle anymore. You know, the Ruger brought out the Gunsight scout rifle, but it failed to meet some of those specifications. Mossberg did the same thing. Steyr, Jeff Cooper worked with Steyr to design the scout rifle, and they swore it was going to make weight, and it still didn't. It came in at a little over 7 pounds. So the analogy I was going to talk about, it's kind of like if Richard Mann wrote a recipe for a pie, and he called it a hillbilly pie, and I published that recipe in books and put it on the internet, then that's what a hillbilly pie would be, right? Now, if Ron Spomer ate a hillbilly pie and he didn't like it because it didn't have a cherry on top, and he puts a cherry on top of it, it's not a hillbilly pie anymore. It's Ron Spomer should do.
You're a stickler.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Right, I gotcha. But Richard, my question is, why the Scout rifle? Why does he want to set it up this way? What's its purpose?
Well, I guess I got sidetracked. I was getting to that. And the reason I kind of got sidetracked is if you read about the Scout rifle in magazines or you get on the internet and Scout rifle forums, you're going to get all this, like I said, this can of worms of, well, I want my Scout rifle in 6.5 Creedmoor. Okay, fine. But it's not a Scout rifle. That, you know what I'm getting at? But his concept was he wanted a rifle that was suitable for hunting any animal on earth up to 1,000 pounds, which is 99% of all the hunting. And he wanted a rifle that would be suitable for somebody operating in a scouting capacity. Like in the old days, a lot of it was based on Frederick Russell Burnham, who was the lead scout during the Boer Wars in South Africa. Burnham was actually an American that went to work for the British military. And pretty storied guy, pretty interesting guy. He did a lot of interesting stuff. And I think he was from Arizona where Cooper set up Gunsight Academy. So I think he had a lot of connection to Burnham. And the guy that founded the Boy Scouts, Baden Powell, was good friends of Frederick Russell Burnham. And he based a lot of what he wanted to teach the Boy Scouts through his program on the stuff that Burnham did. So Burnham was an influential guy. So Cooper wanted the Scout rifle. He wanted it to be a hunting rifle for anything up to 1,000 pounds, but he also wanted it to be suitable for a scout who's out operating alone, gathering information, scouting. He didn't want a battle rifle where you would engage a platoon of enemy soldiers. If you're a scout and you're engaging a platoon of enemy soldiers, you're not a very good scout. You know, you made a mistake. So that's kind of, he wanted a rifle that he called a general purpose rifle that was not specialized, such as a big game rifle or a varmint rifle or a battle rifle or a deer rifle or an elk rifle.
Right.
He wanted a general purpose rifle that you could do all of those things with. Maybe not. Go ahead.
What is the advantage of the forward mounted scope and what power ranges do you have on it?
Cooper wanted a very low power range, 2 to 3 power, because what he wanted you to be able to do with that low power scope is make quick snapshots. And I'm sure you like jump shooting warthogs in Africa or maybe even whitetail deer. You snap the gun up, you leave both eyes open, quickly acquire the target, and make the shot. And the Scout scope works really well for that. I've got 3 Scout rifles sitting here, and they all have variable power scopes on them.
Why don't you grab one and show us? For anyone who's watching this on YouTube, they can look at it, and we'll describe it for the listeners on the podcast. So there's
see it. So
you can see you've got the forward-mounted scope.
Yeah, this is a Scout rifle based off a new ultralight arms Model 20. It's in 308. You can see here it has the aperture ghost ring rear sight, front sight, and then the forward mounted scope, and it has quick detach rings, so you can take it off if if the scope would break or whatever.
Sure.
This is a 2 to 7 burst. If you want to do the snap shooting, you turn it down to 2 power. But the downside to a low power rifle scope, and I'm sure you know this, if you're in a hunting situation, and if you're hunting pronghorn antelope and he's standing out in the middle of a prairie, 2 power scope's good to 300-400 yards.
Yeah.
If you're in the woods hunting whitetails or that pronghorn is moving around some brush where you can't see him, you need more magnification, more resolution to be able to find him in the scope and make a good shot. And that's the downside of a fixed power, low power Scout scope, is you lack the resolution to be able to make shots at game animals that are hard to see, such as in the timber or whatever. So that's why I have variable scopes on all my Scout rifles.
So thanks for joining us in this podcast, Richard. And if people want to find you and your books and all, where do they go?
Emptycases.com. Empty-cases.com.
Empty-cases.com will get you to his website. It's a great website. He has a lot of books on there. The man knows his guns and his ammo and his scopes and every other aspect of shooting and hunting, so you might want to check him out. Have you got a YouTube channel?
I do. I do. RAMWV.
Thanks so much for being with us, Richard. Really appreciate it. Hey, folks, that's another episode here. I hope you enjoyed Richard. The guy really knows his stuff, and he's a straight shooter. And I think we find that a lot in our industry. And I really appreciate his helping out here. And maybe next time he and I will get deeper into bullets, because Richard has done a lot of research in bullets. Maybe we'll talk about that bullet test tube he was working with for a while. It was a great way to test bullet expansion and terminal performance. So until the next time, this is Ron Spomer on RSO Podcast, thanking you for watching. You can catch us on our other YouTube channel, Ron Spomer Outdoors, where we dive into depth on bullets and cartridges and ballistics and all that fun stuff. Website is ronspomeroutdoors.com, and you can also jump on the television station there, rsotv.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time, Ron Spomer signing off on Honest and Shoot Straight.